Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to the last and the most thrilling day of the Oslo Esports Cup in 2022. So this tournament was really incredible. This tournament had really its ups and downs. First Ramesh Babu Pragnananda was in the lead, then Magnus Carlsen took the lead, then again Prag, then again Magnus. It was really ping pong battle between Prag and Magnus Carlsen. But today even wilder thing happens because Prag and Magnus lost their games, which meant now that young Krzysztof Duda had the opportunity to win the whole thing if he wins now his game against the famous chess bra Erik Hansen. So also, I think in some combination, Lin Kuan Liam had some chances to win the tournament. For instance, if Erik Hansen would win the game against young Krzysztof Duda. Let's check out now what happened in this match game between young Krzysztof Duda and Erik Hansen. It was a brilliant match game, and it was also very, very important, of course, for the outcome of this super event. So here, Erik Hansen played with the move with white pieces and opened with the move e4. We have e5 by young Krzysztof Duda. We have knight to f3 and after move knight to c6. We have bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez, the Spanish game, is on the board. So we have here knight to f6, which is now the Berlin defense. Of course, one of the most popular lines against these types of structures. We have now d3, and now after bishop to c5, we have now this idea c3. The main goal, of course, of the Ruy Lopez then in the continuation is to break and enter with the move d4. So of course you have to also take care of your e4 pawn, but if you have the opportunity, you will probably break and enter here in the center. So here in the continuation we have d5 immediately by young Krzysztof Duda. See, so you're breaking in the center. You have to make now reaction. You could also go knight to d2, but here Erik Hansen plays now this idea. We have e takes d5, and after queen to d5 we're stopping now a little bit and we're valuing now the position because we have now really an important structure, pawn structure that we have to recognize. We have now the so-called Boleslavsky wall. The Boleslavsky wall is this pawn structure, c3 d3. Of course you can reach also the same structure with the black pieces. Then you have d6 c6. So okay, this pawn structure is perfectly fine when it comes to restrictions of your opponent's minor pieces. What I mean about this is of course that you have here a restriction of these 4 squares, which black would love of course to occupy. So you're not allowing your opponent to play maybe some outposts on these squares. But the downside of course is of the structure is now this pawn on d3, and it becomes many times the main target of black's attack. Black is trying maybe some batteries on the d file, will maybe include also the bishop into the attack, so is trying, as I said, just to play aggressively against the d3 pawn. So here in the continuation we have queen to after move queen takes d5, we have bishop to c4 by Erik Hansen. We have queen to d6 and now knight to d2. Here, young Krzysztof Duda continues with his plan. So as I said, bishop to f5, still white is here slightly better, but you see black has also beautiful opportunities to play very actively here. So we have queen to e2, we have kingside castling, and now already maybe a slightly inaccurate move here by Erik Hansen. He plays knight to g5 immediately, although you can castle immediately, and I think it's a very important lesson that you see now. Maybe if you're a beginner in chess, securing the king by castling is a very, very important stage. It's very important to secure the king because now many things could happen. We have already sort of a semi-open game. What I mean about this is that actually many things could happen in the center. The center can explode, the center can be open. That's, I think, something that we have to recognize. So that's why staying with the king in the center here in these types of structures is a suicide. Maybe in blocked pawn structures, when maybe this pawn structure would be blocked, when no pawn movements are possible, then maybe you could stay a little bit longer with the king in the center, but not in this position. I think you have to get out of this mess because many tactical things can happen. So after move kingside castling wasn't played by Erik Hansen. He played, as I said, knight to g5, which is a good idea. It is a natural idea because we have sort of an isolated pawn. It's not isolated because it can be of course connected with the f pawn, but so far it's a little bit isolated. So that's why here Erik Hansen is trying to play a beautiful blockade around the square e4. But I think you have to first secure the king and maybe then afterwards go and play on this blockade idea. So here in the continuation we have queen to d7 by young Krzysztof Duda, because now the threat was if you stay with the queen, then you will get knight to e4, knight to e4. Whatever you do, then I think you have to give up one of those bishop. For instance, if you try something like, I don't know, knight rook to d8, then you get this one, takes, and now now you have to give up the light square bishop all, or white is going to take your dark square bishop, and you don't want to lose any of your bishops in these types of ideas, because it's an open game, semi-open game. So I think the bishop pair is perfectly fine here. So as I said, this is something that young Krzysztof Duda wanted to avoid, so he tried to stay with the bishops on the board and gets now out of the potential range of the knight, because the queen was here a little bit vulnerable to the attacks by knight to e4. So after move knight to e4 was played anyway here by Erik Hansen, we have bishop to e7 and now knight to g3. Again, you can maybe simplify the game here, knight to f6, bishop to f6, and then maybe play knight to e4, kingside castling, and it will be perfectly fine. At least temporarily, this bishop on f6 is not a good piece because it's blocked out by its own pawn. But now Erik Hansen makes, I think, his first mistake. He's playing knight to g3, attacks again the bishop. He desperately is trying now to again attack the bishop pair of blacks, but here young Krzysztof Duda steps back, and as I mentioned many times, the bishop is a long-range piece. It doesn't matter if this bishop is on f8 or maybe if this bishop is on h7. Both of these bishops are still very active, although you have pushed them a little bit far away from the action, but still the bishops are perfectly fine. And I think with these maneuvers by the knight, okay, white had some fun. White attacked a little bit, but here when black retreated, when young Krzysztof Duda retreated with the bishop, he has now good setup. He has castled the knight are on natural scores. Still he can go with his main goal, rook to d8, and again continue the pressure against the pawn on d3. So here already something went wrong for Erik Hansen, and he tried to push it further, even with the wilder move h4. He tried now maybe even to trap the bishop with h5, but now young Krzysztof Duda shows really some great defensive skills or counterplay skills. He plays first to move rook from a to d8. So he's trying, of course, with this to continue with his main plan to attack the d3 weakness. So we have here knight to e4, we have knight to a5. So now black is chasing a little bit the bishop pair all over the board, and we have here bishop to b3. And okay, now many things you could make as a mistake. For instance, you could make a mistake of queen to d3, and young Krzysztof Duda is really an experienced player. He is really one of the best players now these days. He didn't fall for this. It was a dirty trap that Erik Hansen prepared here. After move queen to d3, here queen to d3, rook to d3, and now after move knight to f6, bishop to f6. Look at this, the bishop gets trapped. You have to, I think, sacrifice now the rook for the exchange, and here white would be much better. So that's why here after move bishop to b3, it's not time to take out the pawn on d3. This is a long-term weakness, so this weakness will not escape, so still we can attack this position further. First, what young Krzysztof Duda played, and it was of course the correct continuation, he played first knight takes b3, got rid of this bishop. After a takes b3, now he created some breathing spaces for the bishop. So here he plays calm line, positional line, first securing everything, and then he will eventually strike here around the square d3. So we have now h5, bishop to h7, we have rook takes a7. Doesn't matter to lose this pawns, because still the king is a little bit stuck here in the center. If you maybe castle here immediately, still I think we can attack now queen to d3. We can also play a6, so we can here I think prevent this ideas. But the main, I think, strategical goal of this types of ideas is now to play knight to d5 and then knight to f4. This is now clear target. It's now huge weakness in white's position. So here from rook to a7, we have knight to d5, again with the same goal here to play knight to f4. And again, if you calculate even now, then knight to f4 will happen, bishop to f4. This wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show you how dangerous this attack can be by young Krzysztof Duda, because after bishop to f4, e takes f4, and actually now the knights are trapped. Where are you going to go with your knight on g3? You have only one square. You have knight to h1, but now queen to d3. Now, sorry, let's go back. So sorry, about after move knight to d5, after kingside castling, as we said, knight to f4, we have bishop to f4, e takes f4, and now you have to step back here with your knight on h1, but now you will lose eventually the battle around the square d3. So it was very important not to rush against the d3 square, as we said in the middle of the video, that you have time to battle for the d3 square, but now when you only prepare the attack in the beginning. So now after move queen to d3, you see now after trades of queens, the knight is still loose on the board and it doesn't have good squares. The knight is actually trapped. Even if you try something like, I don't know, f3, then bishop takes e4, after f takes e4, bishop to c5. Look at this, traps the rook. So really beautiful tactics that could be possible, of course, in this middle game stage. So that's why after move knight to d5, Erik Hansen doesn't have time to castle, and he had chances to castle, he had opportunities to castle, but he didn't do that, and now he gets punished really in a brutal way. After move knight to d5 here, rook takes b7. Now Erik is grabbing more pawns, but it doesn't matter, this plan is still working. The main strategical goal, knight to f4, we have bishop to f4, e takes f4, and now after move d4 here, Erik Hansen tried at least to fix the pawn structure. But even if you try, I don't know, something like knight to f1, if you try to step back, then you get rook from d to a8. You have now this tactical shot, rook to a1 is now huge threat. Even if you try knight to d2, then of course rook to a1 is going to happen, and it's a game over. So as I said, many things could happen here. So d3 is weak, so it's, I think, a position that you could resign. So even if you try, I don't know, maybe something like queen to d1, then we can play queen to c6. It's also trapping the rook. The rook doesn't have any more spaces to escape. So you see the rook is loose, the king is in the center, the bishop pair is very active. We have open a file, many tactical possibilities for black. So after move e takes f4, as we said, Erik Hansen tried d4, but now Krzysztof Duda simply takes f takes g3, knight to g3, and now again this idea, queen to c6, attacking the rook. We have queen to f3, and now queen to a6, trying now to deliver this annoying check on a1. So we have rook takes e7, bishop to d6, rook to c4, and now again a new check. We have queen to d1, and here after rook to e8, the knight to e2 was played, and after queen to b2 in this position, Erik Hansen resigned. He cannot, of course, escape with his king, because then also the knight will be lost. Even if you try king to f1, then still rook takes e2 is working, because after queen to e2, first you give the check, and if the queen covers, now you have this one, bishop to d3 is winning the game. You have to step back, you lose the queen, and it's game over. So here king to g1, queen takes e1 is even checkmate, because the bishop is covering this potential escape plan for the king. So as I said, beautiful attack by Krzysztof Duda, but I think also we can agree that here I think we have seen many mistakes by Erik Hansen, but it was a beautiful attacking formation that Krzysztof Duda built, and he eventually won the game against Erik Hansen, which meant, of course, now that he won now the Oslo Esports Cup in 2022. Congratulations to Krzysztof Duda. He deserved it really, because in the beginning he didn't play maybe his best chess, but now in the last rounds he really improved, won many games, and Magnus Carlsen lost too many games also. Then eventually Ramesh lost too many match games. So as I said, here Krzysztof Duda took his chances and won a very prestigious tournament. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game, and I hope that you enjoyed my coverage of the super event. If you want to see more games that we have covered so far, please check out my commented chat games from this event. Here are some links of some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.